there, it's Sarah from Tangy Tarot. Well, you can call me Sarah or Tangy, either of those works. I think this is the first time reintroducing myself on this channel. You can just call me Sarah or Tangy, either of those works. So today I'm going to do a video response to the tag created by Sorsha Soaring Craft. The tag is called Pacing the Tarot. The premise of this tag or of these prompts is to take a look at some decks that we might not have used in a while in our collection. She created the set of prompts because we do tend to collect a lot of decks. I have a lot of decks as well, and I want to make sure that I am also paying attention to all these decks and using them as much as I can, not just collecting and then forgetting about the old ones as soon as I get new ones. All right, so the first prompt is my least used deck. The deck I chose for this prompt is the Zillich Tarot. This is a mini size deck. It is smaller than standard tarot size. It's got a cute little booklet here with a fair amount of information. Now, first of all, as I have to do with every deck, shuffling, I can't resist. I just can't resist shuffling a deck. It just feels really good to shuffle. So I chose this as my least used deck because even though I have many decks that I do not use regularly, which I don't have a problem with because it's okay to rotate through things and cycle through things, this deck is definitely my least used. I have not read with it yet. I've barely looked at all the images. I first got this deck because someone had written in one of the Facebook groups that I'm in that it paired really well with an Oracle deck that I have. So I was like, oh my god, it really is so pretty. And I do love the watercolorness. I love the abstractness. Once I got it, I admit I also did not watch much of a walkthrough before I got it, which it is what it is. I still really enjoy the images. I think it is really cool. I think the keywords are super cool. I don't use it much or at all because this deck seems to be more Thoth or Thoth based. So there are princesses and there are princes. So they don't correlate one for one with like pages, knights, queens, kings. There are princesses, princes, and then I believe knights and queens. All right. So here we've got like a princess of wands, then the prince of wands, then the queen of wands, then the knight of wands. So the way that the court cards are ordered, I believe it's more Thoth based, and I am not familiar with Thoth at all. I'm more familiar with Rider-Waite-Smith. That is the system that I learned on. So the fact that these court card system is different is already throwing me for a loop. I feel like that's only like 16 cards in the deck. I feel like the rest of the deck I should be able to read with right out the box, but I feel like that is a reason for why I have not used this deck or even opened it to even look at or study much. So I feel like I want to learn for myself what this court card system is and understand the structure of it before I can actually use it, because I don't want to read this deck just like I read other Rider-Waite-Smith decks. I want to understand why are princesses and princes different, and why are princesses and princes included if there are also knights. So the court cards by themselves is mainly the reason why I haven't used this deck much. So the other part of this prompt, so two parts of this prompt was, why is this the least used, and what is one thing I can do to change that if I wish to? So the one thing I could do to change me using this deck more would be once I once I learn how to properly read the chords, I feel like I will be able to read with this. When that'll happen, I'm not too sure. I just have other things on my priority right now, on my priority plate, but that is the Zillich Tarot as my least used deck. The next prompt has two versions or two variations. One is an oldie but a goodie. The other one is a deck that's had its 15 minutes. Sorsha did say to only do 3 decks for this whole tag, but I'm going to do both of these variations because why not? So the first variation is an oldie but a goodie. So the deck that I've chosen for this prompt is the Mystic Mondays Tarot. This was one of the first decks that I bought. Now, as always, a shuffle demonstration really. If you watch my deck shuffling collection video, this is one of my most difficult decks to shuffle. It is very stiff and very inflexible. It's very hard to riffle shuffle. Bridge shuffling is hard. Overhand shuffling is better, but the deck is very thick, so it is hard to shuffle. All right, so why is this an oldie but a goodie? Well, because this is one of the first decks that I've owned, and even though I don't use it as much nowadays, I still find it very fun to read with. Okay, I don't know why these are all reversed. So I just find it fun to read with. I find it fun to look at. I think these colors are fun. I like this idea of breaking down images into like simpler shapes is very cool for me. That's an art style that I just find very cool. Even after all these years, I still haven't gotten rid of the deck because I like having it. I like knowing that I have it. I like being able to whip it out once in a blue moon to look at these cool colors. And I just think it looks really cool. I also think, I know some people don't like it because they find the cards kind of pippish. So like Three of Pentacles, like how could you know what that means if you don't understand or know what tarot means? But I feel like because I have that foundational knowledge of tarot already, I already know what the Three of Pentacles means without having an image to rely on. I find it like, all right, it's cool. It gives me enough to go off of. Temperance, this idea of like balancing and weighing things out, like that makes sense to me. So that is why it is an oldie but a goodie. So the second half of this prompt is, assuming it's waned in my practice, what is one way I could change it? And if it hasn't waned, what is one of the strong points that I appreciate? I think I would like to find more ways to pull this out for casual readings, because sometimes I like doing fun casual tarot readings. And I think sometimes, especially with what I've been going through personally in the past few months with family stuff mainly going on, I feel like I haven't had the mood or the energy to want to do fun readings. So I think this is a really casual deck that I can use for fun casual readings. Clearly half the cards are reversed, so all right. And like I mentioned, one of the strong points is that I think the colors are very cool. I think the images are very clear to look at. It just gives me fun, summery, abstract vibes, and I like that. So that is the Mystic Mondays Tarot as an oldie but a goodie. So the other variation of the second question is a deck that has had its 15 minutes. The deck that I chose for this prompt is the Pocket of Peers Tarot deck by Jamie Sawyer. Love the magnetic box here. Shuffle demonstration, as usual. This one is pretty stiff, but it works. I got this deck. First of all, for people who don't know this deck, this is a deck that is based on a lot of members of the divination community. And I know very few figures in this deck. I know some of them, but I don't know many of these, which is fine. I originally got this deck because Jamie Sawyer had announced that it was selling out. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go pick it up because, last chance to do so. She's not gonna do a reprint, I don't think. So I decided to get it. And I use it pretty regularly for like a month. There is a witchy server that I'm in, the SASS Witches server, where we do weekly divination prompts. So we post a tarot spread or a divination spread, divination prompts every week. And every week people are encouraged to just draw their own cards or do their own divination methods to read that prompt. So I use this pretty regularly for the month, for a whole month for, the 4 prompts and other readings. And I did really enjoy it. It was pretty fun to use. But after that, I haven't felt called to use it again. For some reason, I haven't used it. I feel like maybe it's because I wanted to use other decks during other months, like rotate out through other decks. But I also feel like a part of why I haven't used this as much is because knowing that these are based off of real people in the divination community, it makes me feel almost a little bit guilty because I don't know who they are, and I don't consider myself super involved in the community, whatever the community means. Like I have certain people that I like to follow on YouTube, and I am in a few Facebook groups, but as far as my own practice goes and my own relationships, I do like to do everything very individually. So I just don't feel like I'm a part of the divination community. And so it does make me feel a little bit guilty or strange for not when I don't know who these people are. And I don't know. I feel like, should I know who they are? Should I remember who they are? Then it makes me also wonder, do I need to have background information of who this person is to understand what Three of Wands is, or to tie this person's background into the story of the Three of Wands card? It makes me start questioning. It just makes me start questioning, am I using this deck correctly, the absolute right way? And I don't want to feel that way. Well, I know this is Pamela Chen, who created the Crystal Unicorn Tarot. But besides that, I think as a general tarot deck, even if you don't know that these that these people are like real people. I think it is a really cool deck that shows a lot of different scenes, different colors, different types of people, different demographics of people, which is very cool, very fun. I know that's Chris Ann, the creator of the Lightseers Tarot. Anyway, I think as a surface level tarot deck, it is pretty fun to use. I just think that if I start thinking about how there's experiences and stories behind these people, I start second guessing myself, like, oh, should I be doing more with this than I already am? Another reason why this has had kind of its 15 minutes quote is because I am enjoying other decks as well. I feel like more and more decks that I use, they don't feature people or faces at all. I feel like I tend to use more decks that have more, just not as many people, no faces, no people in them. I like abstract decks or like, I don't know, alien space themed decks. I think this one and Lightseers are the only decks that I can think of that feature like faces. I guess Tarot in Space as well. But Tarot in Space, I consider that more like alien, like rather than human. So I think this one and Lightseers are the only human people decks that I have. And I don't even use Lightseers that much either. So I feel like just changing tastes is why I haven't used this deck as much after its original 15 minutes. Assuming this deck has waned in my practice, what is one way I could change that? Honestly, I don't know if I want to change that right now. I think I'm going to continue leaving this on the back burner, just enjoying knowing that I have it available to me. Yeah, just knowing that I have it available for when I want it is cool. I must have flipped through the deck pretty fast if I have flipped through the whole deck. Yeah, that is the Pocket of Peers Tarot. Now, the third question of this tag is a deck that makes you reassess. So I've got a lot of things to say here. I hope I can say them coherently. The deck that makes me reassess is the Seams Tarot, or the Southeast Asian Myths and Stories Tarot. This deck came out last year. It was funded via Kickstarter. Look at this super beefy guidebook. Very, very beefy. What a thick guidebook that is. Very cool. The shuffle test, of course. Demonstration. More of a shuffle demonstration. I feel like this is made with Make Playing Cards cardstock. It has the same waxy finish and the same rounded corners. But Make Playing Cards has very, very shuffleable cardstock. It's very smooth, very easy to shuffle. All right, so the Seams Tarot is a deck that makes me reassess. Because, well, first of all, backstory about this. This is a collaborative deck. So there's a bunch of different artists from different countries who have depicted different myths in this deck. Different myths, different stories, different legends in this deck. And I am of Asian diaspora. I am Vietnamese American. My parents immigrated here, and then I was born here. This deck makes me reassess a lot of things. So I am going to talk about the Asian diaspora experience. I will say the disclaimer that I don't speak for all Asian diaspora. This is me trying to make sense of my own experience and draw from what I know. My experience does not speak for everyone else. I'm just speaking for my own experience right now. So this is a very cool deck. Very, very cool. The idea of learning about Southeast Asian myths and legends is very cool because I actually went to Chinese school growing up to learn Mandarin Chinese because I do have family members who speak it, and it also just seemed like a profitable investment in my childhood. And so I got to learn about Chinese myths that way. I also did go to Vietnamese classes for a few years, but we didn't do as much like Vietnamese culture studying or Vietnamese story studying as I learned with Chinese. So because I was interested in learning about it that way, I was like, okay, I'm going to get this deck and it's going to be a cool way for me to learn this stuff. However, it is making me reassess now because literally in the year that I've had this, I have not looked at this. I've barely looked at it. I feel like there's so much detail and so much information in each card that it pretty much overwhelms me. It's similar to what I was saying about the Pocket of Peers Tarot, where knowing that there is a lot of backstory, a lot of history behind this makes me feel almost overwhelmed. Like, if I look at this card on the surface, is that enough? Maybe I need to be like doing an hour of study on it before I'm even worthy to use this card or use this deck. And when I put all that expectation on myself to use this deck, like obviously it's going to make me not want to even open the deck or look at it. it makes me reassess the differences between Asian people in Asia and also Asian diaspora people living outside of Asia. So I realized that I think sometimes we have this idea that non-white people, non-Western people in countries need support in quotes, as if they're charity. There was this notion that we need like Westerners or Western countries to highlight these non-Western countries, to give them charity, give them exposure, to make them feel successful, which is incorrect. The fact is that there are tarot decks made in Asia, in Asian languages. There are tarot decks made in Asia in like English languages, but they don't need Western money or exposure to be deemed successful. Like this tarot deck is now in its second edition, funding on Kickstarter, or I think it already just funded on Kickstarter. So they clearly have a lot of support and a lot of interest outside of who I already know. And even though I haven't heard of this deck much in the Western tarot groups I'm in, it doesn't mean that this deck isn't successful. It's probably plenty successful in Asia, in all the Asian countries that have this deck. So I think I just needed to re-examine and reassess, like, am I supporting this deck because I want to support it? I want to feel connected to Southeast Asia. I want to learn about Southeast Asian cultures and stories. Is there a part of me that feels like I want to be a Western savior of some sort, that they like need my support, they need my money? The fact is, I don't think they need my money just because I'm from the US. I hope that makes any sense at all. Asian things and Asian businesses can be successful without, they don't need Western approval for them to be successful, is what I'm trying to say. Another thing that this makes me reassess is that initially I was hoping that this deck would help me, quote, feel connected to my culture, end quote. But the fact is that, first of all, I prefer learning about stories and myths in other ways. Maybe I enjoy them learning more in a classroom setting where it was interactive and or a teacher could like show them to me. But I have not been interested. I just, for some reason, haven't felt interested in learning about these or exploring these. I find the guidebook, I barely looked at the guidebook. And even though it is great that there's a guidebook, I wish that this guidebook was bigger, like an actual in book form. I do have a PDF version that I can read on my tablet. So the fact is I just haven't read much about it as much as I thought I would. I also realized that connecting to culture, you know, whatever that means for everyone individually, whatever that means for me individually, it is a lifelong experience. It's not just something that it's like, I bought a book and now I'm connected to the culture forever. It is a lifelong experience. It's a lifelong journey. And it takes more than just buying one tarot deck or reading one book to feel or claim that I'm connected to like my culture. And I also have to examine what does, oh, my cat's coming. Susie. All right. My cat was walking across my desk. So I just have to remember that feeling connected to my culture, there's a lot more to it than just picking up one deck. And I also don't have to place all the expectations on this one deck to make me feel connected. It's not like this deck is going to solve the problems or the questions or issues I have. The idea that the Asian diaspora experience is even an issue to be solved is also something that I have to like question and reassess. Oh my God. I there's just a lot. I think the fact that I don't really have like a point to all of this, like it just shows that this experience is just part of like the life experience. There's no really clear-cut answer or clear-cut solution to what happens. Is there even an issue? Is there even a question? So there's just a lot that this deck makes me think about and reassess, not just in terms of tarot, but in terms of who I am as a person. There's also one more thing to think about with this idea of like the homeland, the home country. Like, I think with white people, a lot of people will kind of say, or they know that they're like this percent Scottish and this percent Welsh and whatever other white ethnicities there are. But how many white people feel like they have to go back to those roots and like do things that are connected to those roots? I'd argue not many of them. Some people do for personal reasons, but for many people, they probably don't feel an obligation to go back to Celtic roots or Welsh roots because they had ancestors from there. So I think for me, I also have to question, like, do I feel like I owe Southeast Asia or Southeast Asian people in general anything because I have ancestors from there. Like my ancestors were born there. My parents immigrated here because of circumstances, and now I'm here. Like I do respect Southeast Asian countries and these cultures. But it's also just like, I don't have to feel like I owe them anything. I don't have to feel like I owe them my money because I descended from them. And, I don't know if any other Asian diaspora people are going to see this and have thoughts about this, but that is a lot of things that having this deck made me think about. Not just this deck, but just being in an Asian community overall and having other Asian people around me to talk to and think with. So yeah, that is a lot of stuff. I hope any of it was coherent. I hope any other fellow Asian diaspora or even immigrant friends see this and have any thoughts of your own for me. But yes, that is the Seams Tarot. Let me do one more shuffle to get out my nerves. It really is a cool deck, and I do hope that one day I get to see if I'm interested in this. Well, to go back to the prompt, it does say, what is something that you can do about that if I want to? What can I do about this deck? Well, I'm going to keep it on hand because I still want to be able to have it for when I'm ready to use it. One of these days, when I feel ready to sit down and start reading this book, I will probably start reading through this book. Maybe I'll read through it like just page by page, or maybe the tablet version so that's easier to read than this little guidebook here. But I would like to read the actual book, the booklet / the PDF book one day and just learn more about it. But I also have to remind myself that it is all for fun. I'm not doing this for a grade. I'm not doing this for approval. I'm not doing this because I owe it to anybody. I just need to do it for fun. So that is that on the Seams Tarot. So those are the 3/4 decks that I've chosen for this Pacing the Tarot tag. Thank you, Sorsha Soaring Craft, for making this tag. I hope that I'm able to edit this stuff so that it's coherent. I hope that it was interesting for y'all listening to this ramble about Asian diaspora, Asianness, all that stuff. And yeah, let's center this here. So yeah, that is all for this video. Let me know if you have any thoughts or comments down below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!